Hello everyone, this is John. What I thought to do was to give a bit of a overview of my John's Investment Assistant site. I've had quite a few people request some access to it, and I've done a lot of additions to the site. There's a lot of different menus now that have been added, and I think the site's getting quite big with a lot of data. And so I think this little video can really just help you, kind of streamline and how to get, value out of the site or the content. So uh, this is the site fin.nataliemeyer.me. It's my wife actually that created the WordPress site. I did all the sort of back end in Python and MySQL. But basically, what you do is after you log in, just as a disclaimer, any information that you get from this site, I cannot be held accountable for, and you have to agree with this, for any financial loss or gains made, for that matter. You have to agree with this earnings disclaimer. Basically, going to the site. Then on the main sort of homepage of the site, basically explaining the investment model that Brian Beamish actually developed from the Rational Investor. And you can go to his website from here, and this is where I did my investment and trading level 1, 2, and 3 training. And I'd highly recommend that you go to the site, The Rational Investor, and actually learn, how to trade, how to manage risk before you actually use any of the data from the site. The site is really taking a lot of the concepts that we were taught, or that I've been taught, from The Rational Investor, from Brian, and really just try to automate and bring a lot of this content together, really to help me. And I hope it can add some value and help you as well. So it's basically just to walk through this little diagram on the left here is essentially, you know, uh, what the strategy is using. It's using sort of two scoring systems from a TA perspective. So the one is really at the top is the relative mean, so distance to the mean, or the 50% rule. And so essentially, when price is kind of made a peak high and then it makes a kind of a peak low, you've got the 50% mean. And when you're at, sort of a very, the top end of that range, you're going to get a scoring that's fairly low, which means, a 1 or a 0 or a 2 means to sell. Whereas if it's uh, quite like low at the bottom of the price range over here, for example, then your scoring will be a sort of a 4 or a 3, which is high on this relative distance. The second metric that's used is the moving average relationship. So in our level 2, we actually learn about moving averages, and Brian likes to use the 13 EMA and the 30 SMA. And so what this does is it's basically comparing, weekly 13 EMA versus the 30 SMA. And basically when have a cross in a bullish scenario, you've got a rating of like a 2. And then if you've got a cross on a bearish MA, you've got a rating of a 1. And then simply adding these two metrics together, you get a cumulative scoring, which gives you a value basically ranging between 1 and 6, where 1 is really most bearish. So, it's at the kind of top of the range. The MAs have crossed bearish, whereas a 6, you've got bottom of the range and you've crossed bullish. So the other thing which I'm also doing is I'm sort of scanning the web for assets that have different sort of fundamental analysis models that we learn also in level 1, which is the the VSIM, CanSlim, WDB, and GARP. And so you'll learn all about these. So what this site does is it allows you, well, basically it screens for these different assets that have these different FA criteria. And then on top of that, it'll apply this model on the left here. You'll get a rating of either a 6 for a buy or a 1 for a sell. A 5 is sort of, you're getting close to a 6, maybe you start hunting a buy, and a 2 is you're getting close to a 1, just start hunting a sell. And then 3s and 4s are sort of in the middle of the range. You don't really want to do anything, so do nothing. So yeah, as I said, basically make sure you've done your TRI at least level 1. You've completed 100 paper trades before you risk any real money into the market. Again, this is no financial advice from me. At your own risk. I'm just trying to help present information, and I use this for myself. I've got a new feature which I've added, which starts looking at price structure. So it'll also find W's and M's, which we also taught very early on in level 1. And so what I also do, in addition to showing this rating and these different FAs, you also see a column for W or an M, and that's currently available. I have also built an additional sort of a summary, because I found that the site generates a lot of potential ideas, and what I've done is I've filtered that into a nice sort of small list of ideas which you can get every week, which basically looks for anything that's got a 5 or a 6 and a W, or anything with a 1 or a 2 and an M. And it'll give you a very, very short list on a weekly basis of what to kind of zoom in and focus on. And for this, I'd like you to register to the site, and you can trial that. Otherwise, the rest of the content is all available for free, essentially. I mean, just ping me a message on Twitter, and I can share with you a generic sort of login that I don't mind giving you. And if you find value out of it, you're welcome to give me a donation. So at the bottom here, I've got a summary table of all the different say portfolio items. This was sort of originally based on Brian's weekly commodity trend survey, so it looks at the commodities. Then what I added was more sort of a bit more drill down on commodities with various industry tickers. Also include exchange traded funds. Then every single sort of industry sector that's available has also been given here. You've got over 2,000 tickers that I was looking at. The large cap ones, so looking at the S&P 500, NASDAQ, that sort of thing. Then here are the different FA screeners, so the VSIM, CanSlim, WDB, and GARP. And then I've also included crypto based in USD-based currency, and then also in Bitcoin.